Ravenscroft Manor stood sentinel in the heart of Virginia's mist-drenched countryside, its weathered stone walls holding centuries of whispered secrets. Dr. Emily Collins, a pragmatic investigator of the paranormal, approached the looming mansion with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Beside her, Dr. Michael Davis adjusted the strap of his EMF meter, his eyes scanning the ornate facade with a scientist's detachment. The autumn wind whispered through the ancient oaks that flanked the winding gravel path, leading to the manor's grand entrance. Emily's team, a hand-picked group of experts in their respective fields, moved with purpose as they unloaded crates of equipment, digital cameras with night vision lenses, audio recorders sensitive enough to capture the faintest whispers of ethereal voices, and arrays of electromagnetic field detectors designed to measure anomalies imperceptible to the naked eye. Emily took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the imposing structure before her. Ravenscroft Manor had been the subject of local folklore for generations, its history steeped in tragedy and unexplained phenomena. She had studied the reports, skeptical of the supernatural claims, but drawn by the challenge of uncovering the truth behind the myths. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered Sarah Chong, the team's empathic researcher, as she adjusted her backpack. Her eyes, normally bright and sharp, betrayed a flicker of unease as they darted nervously between the manor's darkened windows. Emily glanced at Sarah with a reassuring nod, though inwardly, she felt a pang of apprehension herself. She was accustomed to investigating purported hauntings in dilapidated houses and forgotten graveyards, but Ravenscroft exuded an aura of malevolence that was hard to ignore. "We're here to gather data, Sarah," Emily said calmly, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to leading in uncertain circumstances. "Focus on our objectives. Let's get set up." Sarah nodded, though her unease remained palpable. She moved to help Dr. Davis with the equipment, her movements quick and efficient despite the trembling in her hands. As the team worked in silence, the atmosphere around Ravenscroft Manor seemed to shift. The air grew thick with a tangible sense of anticipation, as if the very walls of the mansion were holding their breath. Emily glanced at her watch, noting the steady decline of daylight as dusk began to settle over the horizon. "We should start with an initial sweep of the interior," Emily suggested, her voice breaking the silence that had settled over the group like a shroud. "Sarah, I want you to focus on any emotional hotspots you detect. Dr. Davis, monitor the EMF readings closely." They entered the manor cautiously, their footsteps echoing faintly in the cavernous entry hall. The air inside was cool and musty, carrying the scent of old wood and dried roses, a stark contrast to the crisp autumn breeze that still rustled through the trees outside. Emily led the way, her flashlight cutting through the gloom as they navigated the labyrinthine corridors of Ravenscroft Manor. Paintings of stern-faced ancestors peered down from the walls, their eyes seeming to follow the team's progress with silent scrutiny. Dr. Davis paused abruptly, his EMF meter emitting a faint beep that echoed in the silence. Emily turned to him, her brow furrowing with interest. "Anything significant?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Nothing conclusive yet," Dr. Davis replied, his tone cautious. "But the readings are fluctuating. We might be onto something." Sarah trailed behind them, her gaze darting nervously from shadow to shadow. She paused beside a staircase, her hand resting on the polished banister as if seeking support. "There's something unsettling here," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "A heaviness, like a weight pressing down." Emily nodded, acknowledging Sarah's observation without dismissing it. As a skeptic, she knew the power of suggestion could play tricks on even the most rational mind. Yet, she couldn't deny the subtle shift in atmosphere within Ravenscroft Manor, a sensation that whispered of unseen forces at play. They continued their exploration, methodically documenting every anomaly and collecting data that would later be scrutinized with scientific rigor. Hours passed in tense anticipation, the team's nerves stretched taut as they pushed deeper into the heart of the manor's mysteries. By the time they returned to the entry hall, the last traces of daylight had faded, leaving them cloaked in the suffocating embrace of darkness. Emily glanced at her watch again, noting the lateness of the hour. "We'll set up the overnight monitoring stations," she announced, her voice steady despite the unease that gnawed at her. "Let's see what the night reveals." As the team busied themselves with their final preparations, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that Ravenscroft Manor held secrets far more profound and dangerous than she had initially imagined. As midnight draped its velvet cloak over Ravenscroft Manor, Emily and her team settled into their designated monitoring stations, each positioned strategically to capture any nocturnal disturbances. The manor seemed to exhale a sigh of ancient secrets as shadows danced across its walls, a testament to the centuries of whispered tales that clung to its time-worn stones. Emily sat before a bank of monitors in the study, her fingers tapping against the keyboard as she reviewed the data streaming in from the night vision cameras scattered throughout the manor. Dr. Davis monitored the EMF readings from a makeshift command center in the library, his expression tense with focused determination. Sarah, stationed in the master bedroom where apparitions had reportedly been sighted, stared intently at her laptop screen, her brow furrowed in concentration. The hours passed slowly, marked by the occasional creak of floorboards and the rustle of curtains stirred by an unseen breeze. Emily's skepticism wavered with each anomaly captured on camera. A flicker of movement in a darkened corridor, an inexplicable drop in temperature recorded by the thermal imaging device. "There's definitely something here," Dr. Davis murmured, his voice crackling through the intercom. "The EMF levels are off the charts in the East Wing." Emily frowned, her mind racing to find a rational explanation for the readings. Could it be faulty equipment? "I've checked and rechecked," Dr. Davis replied, his voice tinged with frustration. "There's no logical reason for these fluctuations." Sarah's voice cut in, a note of urgency threading through her words. "Emily, you need to see this." Emily hurried to Sarah's side, her pulse quickening as she studied the data displayed on Sarah's laptop screen. Images captured by the bedroom camera revealed faint, ghostly shapes flitting through the darkness, apparitions that seemed to materialize and dissipate with unnatural fluidity. "These weren't here during the initial sweep," Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. "They're becoming more frequent." Emily felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she scrutinized the footage. The figures, though translucent and indistinct, bore an unmistakable human likeness, a haunting reminder of Ravenscroft Manor's tragic past. "We need to dig deeper," Emily said, her voice steady despite the unease gnawing at her. "There's a story here, buried beneath layers of myth and superstition." Over the next few days, Emily immersed herself in the history of Ravenscroft Manor, poring over old journals and yellowed newspaper clippings that chronicled the lives of its former inhabitants. She learned of the Hargrove family, once prosperous landowners whose fortunes had plummeted amidst whispers of madness and spectral visitations. Sarah, meanwhile, retreated into herself, grappling with the emotional toll of her empathic abilities. Nightmares plagued her sleep, vivid visions of shadowy figures that beckoned her into the depths of despair. She confided in Emily, her voice trembling with fear as she described the sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. "They want us gone," Sarah whispered one evening, her gaze haunted as she stared into the flickering flames of the study's fireplace. "They're trying to drive us away." Emily listened, her mind racing with the implications of Sarah's revelation. If the spirits of Ravenscroft Manor were indeed hostile, their presence posed a threat not only to her team's safety, but to their mission of unraveling the manor's mysteries. Dr. Davis, ever the voice of reason, remained steadfast in his pursuit of scientific truth. He analyzed the data with meticulous precision, searching for patterns amidst the chaos of paranormal phenomena. Yet, even he couldn't deny the mounting evidence of spectral activity that defied rational explanation. One stormy night, as thunder rumbled ominously overhead, Emily ventured alone into the manor's neglected attic, a forgotten realm where shadows clung to forgotten relics of a bygone era. She sifted through dust-covered trunks and faded portraits, her her fingers trembling as she unearthed a collection of letters bound in frayed ribbon. The letters spoke of forbidden love and bitter betrayal, a tragic tale that echoed through the centuries, its protagonists bound to Ravenscroft Manor by bonds of anguish and remorse. Emily's heart raced as she pieced together the puzzle of the Hargrove family's downfall. A pact with a malevolent spirit forged in desperation, a bargain that had damned generations to an eternity of torment. As Emily descended from the attic, the weight of revelation settled upon her shoulders like a mantle of shadows. She knew now that Ravenscroft Manor held more than spectral echoes of the past. It harbored a darkness that threatened to consume all who dared to uncover its secrets. Outside, lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the manor's weathered facade in an eerie glow. Emily's resolve hardened with each step she took, her determination to confront the malevolence within Ravenscroft Manor unwavering. The final chapter of the Possession Chronicles awaited, a harrowing confrontation that would test their courage and convictions in the face of unspeakable evil. The storm that had brewed over Ravenscroft Manor unleashed its fury with relentless intensity, casting the ancient estate into a writhing tempest of wind and rain. Inside, Emily and her team huddled in the dimly lit study, their faces etched with exhaustion and apprehension. The night had descended into an unyielding darkness, punctuated by the occasional flash of lightning that illuminated the manor's shadowy corridors. Sarah sat by the window, her gaze fixed on the tumultuous scene outside. Her mind buzzed with fragmented images and whispered voices, haunting echoes of the spirits that prowled the manor's halls. Dr. Davis paced restlessly, his thoughts consumed by the enigmatic readings that continued to defy logical explanation. "We can't ignore the evidence," Dr. Davis muttered, his voice tinged with frustration. "There's something malevolent here, something that's feeding off our fear." Emily nodded grimly, her mind racing with the implications of their discoveries. The spectral activity had escalated since their initial investigation, manifesting as chilling whispers and unsettling visions that preyed upon their senses. She knew they were teetering on the brink of a confrontation that could determine their fate, and the fate of Ravenscroft Manor itself. "We need to confront whatever's haunting this place," Emily said, her voice steady despite the unease that coiled in her gut. "Sarah, I need you to focus on any emotional disturbances you sense. Dr. Davis, prepare the EMF meters. We're going back into the heart of the manor." As they ventured deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, the atmosphere grew thick with a palpable sense of dread. Shadows seemed to shift and coalesce around them, whispering secrets too ancient and terrible to comprehend. Emily's flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating portraits of stern-faced ancestors whose eyes bore silent witness to the manor's haunted legacy. Sarah stumbled, her breath catching in her throat as she recoiled from an unseen force. Emily rushed to her side, her hand steady as she guided Sarah onward. "We're close," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "I can feel it." They reached the heart of Ravenscroft Manor, a grand ballroom, its once opulent furnishings now draped in tattered velvet and dust. Moonlight filtered through stained glass windows, casting ethereal patterns on the cracked marble floor. Emily's heart raced as she sensed the presence of the spirits that lurked within, their anguish palpable in the heavy silence. "We're here to help," Emily called out, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Show yourselves." The air stirred with an unseen presence, a spectral chill that raised goosebumps on Emily's skin. Shadows flickered at the edges of her vision, coalescing into ghostly figures that materialized and dissipated with eerie fluidity. "We mean you no harm," Emily continued, her tone firm but compassionate. "Tell us your story." A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, causing Sarah to gasp in alarm. Emily steadied her, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of movement. Dr. Davis adjusted the settings on his EMF meter, his gaze flickering between the readings and the empty expanse of the ballroom. "We're not alone," Dr. Davis murmured, his voice barely audible over the rising wind. "They're here." Emily's pulse quickened as she felt a shift in the atmosphere. a subtle change that heralded the approach of the spirits. A figure materialized before them, its form translucent and wavering like smoke in the moonlight. Emily recognized the ghostly visage of a young woman, her eyes brimming with sorrow and longing. "My name is Emily Collins," Emily said, her voice soft but resolute. "We've come to help you find peace." The spirit's lips parted in a soundless plea. Her gaze locked with Emily's in a silent exchange of understanding. Emily sensed the weight of centuries-old grief and betrayal that tethered the spirit to Ravenscroft Manor, a tragic tale of love and loss that had left wounds too deep to heal. "We know your story," Emily continued, her voice steady despite the surge of emotions that threatened to overwhelm her. "Release your hold on this place. Find peace." The spirit hesitated, its form flickering uncertainly in the shifting light. Emily held her breath, willing the spirit to let go of its torment and embrace the solace of release. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the spirit began to fade, a shimmering wisp of ethereal essence that dissolved into the darkness. Silence descended upon the ballroom, broken only by the soft patter of rain against the windows. Emily felt a surge of relief mixed with sorrow as she realized they had succeeded in confronting the malevolence that had plagued Ravenscroft Manor. The spirits, though bound by tragedy, had found redemption in the act of letting go. As they emerged from the ballroom, the storm outside began to abate, leaving behind a dawning tranquility that mirrored the peace they had restored within Ravenscroft Manor. Emily and her team exchanged weary smiles, their hearts lighter with the knowledge that they had confronted their fears and emerged victorious. But as they prepared to leave Ravenscroft Manor behind, Emily knew that their journey was far from over. The echoes of the manor's haunted past would linger in their memories, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unspeakable darkness. The Possession Chronicles had come full circle, a harrowing odyssey through realms of fear and redemption that had forever changed them. The morning sun rose over Ravenscroft Manor, casting a golden glow upon its weathered facade. Emily and her team gathered in the study, their exhaustion tempered by a sense of accomplishment that transcended the lingering shadows of the night before. Sarah, her eyes bright with newfound clarity, sipped a steaming cup of coffee as she recounted her dreams, visions of spectral figures finding peace amidst the storm. "We did it," Sarah murmured, her voice tinged with awe. "We helped them move on." Emily nodded, her gaze lingering on the laptop screen where Dr. Davis meticulously documented their findings. The EMF readings had stabilized overnight, indicating that the spirits had indeed departed Ravenscroft Manor, their restless energy finally finding release. But why here? Dr. Davis mused aloud, his brow furrowed in thought. What drew them to this place? Emily pondered the question, her mind retracing the threads of history and sorrow that had bound the spirits to Ravenscroft Manor. She recalled the letters she had discovered in the attic, the tale of forbidden love and bitter betrayal that had ensnared generations in a web of anguish and regret. "It was a pact," Emily said slowly, her voice soft but resolute. "A pact born of desperation and fueled by a desire for power." Dr. Davis nodded, his expression reflecting a dawning realization. They made a bargain with the spirit, hoping to reclaim what they had lost. But it only brought them further into darkness. The revelation hung heavy in the air, a testament to the consequences of tampering with forces beyond mortal understanding. Emily knew that Ravenscroft Manor would forever bear the scars of its haunted past, but she also believed in the resilience of the human spirit, a capacity for redemption that transcended even the darkest of shadows. "We've learned valuable lessons," Emily said, her voice steady with conviction, "about the power of empathy and the importance of confronting our fears." Sarah smiled warmly, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "Thank you, Emily, for believing in us and in the spirits that haunt these halls." As they prepared to leave Ravenscroft Manor behind, Emily felt a sense of closure settle over her, a quiet reassurance that their journey had served a greater purpose than unraveling mysteries. They had confronted the malevolence that had plagued the manor, and in doing so, had forged bonds of camaraderie and courage that would endure beyond their shared ordeal. Outside, the Virginia countryside stretched out in rolling hills bathed in the soft light of morning. Emily glanced back at Ravenscroft Manor one last time, its ancient stones whispering secrets of a past now reconciled. "We've done what we came here to do," Emily said, her voice tinged with both sadness and relief. "Let's go home." With a final glance at the manor's imposing facade, Emily turned away, her heart lighter as she walked alongside her team. The Possession Chronicles had come full circle, a journey of discovery and redemption that had tested their resolve and strengthened their bonds. As they drove away from Ravenscroft Manor, Emily knew that their experiences would forever shape their lives, a testament to the enduring power of belief and the courage to confront the unknown. The Possession Chronicles had ended, but their stories would live on, etched in the annals of a place where spirits had found peace and humanity had found redemption.